Welcome back everyone to Gameplays by Clonehead, only today we're not doing a gameplay. Nope, instead we're doing our first decklist video. Inevitably the question arises, which commander do we choose to be our first and how should it be presented? We are going to go a competitive route, which is going to have the unwanted effect of making these decks expensive, but we will try to stay away from cards that are ridiculously expensive like Mana Crypt and Mana Drain, and even offer substitutions for moderately priced cards. That, and we're going to focus on what we believe to be one of the most important criteria when deck building, the mana curve. Commander decks in most cases have roughly 60 spells and 39 lands for a total of 99. Out of those 60 spells, we're going to break them up into 6 categories. CMCs 1 or less will be in the first, then from there CMCs 2, 3, 4, 5, and finally CMCs 6s and above will be included in the same category. And there is an argument to be made that your commander can count as one of the CMCs for however much mana your commander is, since you will initially be able to cast your commander for that amount. For the budget substitutions, we'll try to keep them the same mana cost as closely as we can while still trying to convey the intent of the original card's inclusion in the deck. Realize there are seldom hard and fast rules when it comes to deck building, and what's considered fun varies from person to person. We're going to adhere to this convention as closely as possible for the sake of these deck lists, except in cases like Kaalia where the CMCs are always going to be lopsided. Unlike Kaalia, however, this time we are taking a look at everyone's favorite sand warrior outside Mad Max, Hazezon Tamar. Hazezon is 7 mana for a human warrior on a 2/4 body, which is pretty weak, but it's Hazezon's ETB effect why it's played. He spawns X 1/1 sand warriors the turn after you cast it, equal to the number of lands you control at that time. This implies a land ramp centric, token based, or even overrun style deck, or you could do all three. It's probably going to be the sand warrior creatures themselves that finish the game at the times you do win with Hazezon. Hazezon has one big drawback other than the mana cost, where if Hazezon leaves play, he will take all the sand warriors he made with him. You can get around this by killing or sacking Hazezon before the tokens enter. Let's see how we can do that. This being a mana ramp deck, we're going to focus on cards that help you get lands into play quickly. Mana producing creatures like Birds of Paradise are nice, but don't contribute to our token count with Hazezon. Sol Ring is an exception because it's one of the most efficient mana producers in the format. Cards like Exploration and Burgeoning have the potential to let you play 4 CMC spells on turn 2. Land Tax is probably only going to be useful for you in the early game, since once you start ramping, you will typically always be ahead. The deck is very light on removal since it's more proactive than reactive, but includes just a few removal spells like Swords of Plowshares, so use it wisely. There aren't too many artifacts in the deck, but Skull Clamp is included for massive value you can get from clamping your 1/1 Sand Warriors when you're out of gas. Drawing 14 cards for 7 mana should get you there. There are many powerful enchantments and creatures in this deck we might want to get, so we have cards like Worldly Tutor and Enlightened Tutor to fetch them. Search for Tomorrow is a 3 mana card, but we're including it in with our 1 CMCs since it can be suspended on turn 1. For cards over $10, we have some budget options for you. The expensive 1 mana enchantments can be surprisingly swapped out with creatures of the same mana cost that do roughly the same thing, only not as efficiently. Exploration can be swapped out with Secure Tribe Scout, Burgeoning becomes Skyshroud Ranger, Land Tax can be swapped out with Weathered Wayfarer, and Enlightened Tutor, Plea for Guidance, or Gamble Faithless Looting. CMC2 is really where we start to get into the deck's ramp theme. This list includes all the stock green single land ramp spells such as Rampant Growth, Explore, Farseek, Nature's Lore, 3 Visits, and Secure a Tribe Elder. Really try to hit one of these on your turn 2 so you can set up for a 4 CMC spell on your turn 3. Turn and land progression with this deck should go turn 1, 1 land, turn 2, 3 land, turn 3, 6 land, and 7 mana on your turn 4 when you cast Hazezon. This is ideal but not required, especially if you want to cast a Perforos or in the Web of War first. There's not much card fixing in this deck, but it does have a Sylvan Library, which you can often pay lots of life into, as you should be the one putting the pressure on your opponents more than they you. Early game, you can search up Oracle Moldiah with Eladamri's Call, or late game, Aurelia or Gisela to end the game. Evolutionary Leap, or even Survival of the Fittest can be used in the deck. We're going with Evolutionary Leap, since not only will you have a lot of tokens to sack for it, but it also gives you a much needed sack outlet for Hazezon. Our one piece of removal for this CMC is Hull Breach, as it is very efficient, plus you don't want to stall out when one of your opponents is setting up some infinite combo or sitting behind a ghostly prison you would not otherwise be able to get around. Budget options for the CMC include 3 visits, which can be swapped out for Edge of Autumn, or Into the North if you're playing Snowlands. There aren't too many good budget options for Sylvan Library for 2 mana, but you could try something like Abundance or just Harmonize. CMC 3 is sort of the odd man out in Hazezon. CMCs 2 and 4 are the ramp sweet spots, so these cards basically cast turn 3 only in case you miss playing a ramp spell on turn 2. But there are some useful things here, like Aura Shards, which is probably your most efficient way of destroying artifacts and enchantments. With your first round of tokens entering the battlefield, they can destroy up to 7 things, and that's just the first casting in Hazezon. Another powerful enchantment is Fire's Yavimaya, which lets your Sand Warriors attack the same turn they come in, getting around any sorcery speed board wipes your opponents may have. Beastmaster Ascension makes your Sand Warriors 6/6 for 42 damage the first turn they attack. Shared Animosity deals even more damage than Beastmaster Ascension, as an attack with 7 Sand Warriors will get 49 damage. Azusa acts as another way of putting lands into play quickly and works really well with land tax. One of the best ways for your opponents to get around Hazezon's ability is for them to counter it, so Dosing the Falling Leaf's ability helps us out there. Idyllic Tutor is a better Enlightened Tutor, but only for enchantments, but that's all you really need to get with it. Budget options. For Idyllic Tutor, you can try Plea for Guidance. CMC 4. The main cards here are the double land ramp cards like Skyshroud Claim, Explosive Vegetation, and Ranger's Path. And as long as one other opponent takes the tempting offer, Tempt with Discovery 2, with the potential for even more. Oracle Moldiah helps lands go into play and is aided by all the search spells, which have the added benefit of shuffling your deck when lands aren't on top. Perforos God of the Forge, with a bunch of tokens coming in play from Hazezon, can deal massive amounts of damage to your opponents without even attacking. Ogre Battle Driver is a better Fire's Yavimaya and an equal in the Web of War on a creature and for less. Academy Rector is meant to either prevent your opponents from wrathing your board or reap the benefits from an opponent who did wrath your board. You're probably going to want to get Mirari's Wake with the Rector most of the time. Greater Good provides some of the best card advantage in the deck, as it lets you sack your bigger guys in response to removal to recover from board wipes. You can even use it to sack Hazezon for a 1-card disadvantage. And if your enchantments themselves get destroyed, Replenish puts them all back in play. Budget options for this CMC. You can switch out Replenish for Open the Vaults. Oracle Moldiah, you can use Solemn Simulacrum or Courser of Krufix, and for a much worse Academy Rector, but for much cheaper, you can try Lost Auramancers. CMC 5. Garruk Primal Hunter fits in with the token generation theme of the deck and can even help out with card advantage. With Doubling Season, you can put a dozen or more 6/6 green worms onto the field with Garruk the same turn you cast it. Doubling Season also puts a game-ending amount of Sand Warriors into play with Hazezon, makes Gavny Township twice as effective, and Assemble the Legion 4 times as effective. Cathar's Crusade makes your first round of Sand Warriors 8/8s the turn they come into play. Lovisa Cold Eyes not only makes your warriors bigger, but also gives them much needed haste. Urabrask not only gives them haste, but has the added benefit of unhasting your opponent's creatures. Mirari's Wake serves dual purposes of not only letting you quickly dump threats on the field, but also boosts your army of tokens. Perilous Forays is another sack outlet for Hazezon and can pull lots of land out of your deck by sacking your tokens in response to a Wrath. In the Web of War is a super Fire's Yavimaya. CMC 5 budget options. We have the obvious choice of a Doubling Season becoming Primal Vigor, and the not so obvious choice of Urabrask the Hidden becoming a weird combination of Uphill Battle or Fervor. And finally, our CMC 6 and aboves. These guys are going to be your game enders, of which Naya has a lot. Avenger of Zendikar is a backup to Hazezon if it gets countered or becomes too cumbersome to recast. Avenger even has the potential to deal more damage than Hazezon with the mass amount of lands the deck can put into play. Elesh Norn Grand Cenobite makes your guys bigger while simultaneously making your opponents smaller. Since your tokens are red, white, and green, Regal Forest lets you draw a card for each token you have alone. Mana Reflection is a backup Mirari's Wake, while Austere Command is one of the best mass removal spells there is, as you get to choose what does or does not die. Boundless Realms is the biggest ramp spell you have, and late game it basically is there to take your remaining lands out of your deck so you don't draw them. Tooth and Nail can be a game-ending card in itself, getting some of your most powerful creatures like Aurelia and Gisela, or if you need haste, Gisela and Urabrask, Avenger of Zendikar, and Elish Norn, whatever the situation calls for. Oh, and that's not even mentioning Mr. Game Ender himself. Yeah, this guy. Budget options. For Craterhoof Behemoth, try Pathbreaker Ibex. Regal Forth becomes Shamanic Revelation. For Elish Norn, you can use Krovax Ascendant Hero, as all your tokens are white. For Tooth and Nail, you can try Garruk Caller of Beasts, or even Vicious Shadows. Mana Reflection becomes Zendikar Resurgent. We won't go over all the lands in detail, just the noteworthy ones. Gabney Township, which gives you more of a benefit the more tokens you have, instantly turns your pithy 1/1s into double the size and damage. Orenreef the Vastwood is a secondary Gavany, but more conditional. Gaia's Cradle is an amazing card which gives you a crazy amount of mana for your tokens, but is very expensive and not necessary for your list. One land that is affordable is Mosswort Bridge, which is pretty easy to meet the requirement of having 10 power or more in a green deck with a bunch of creatures. Lands like Corrosion Verge and Myriad Landscape help you ramp and combo with cards like Titania, as they do with other fetch lands in the deck. The expensive dual lands and shock lands can easily be swapped out for other lands like the Scry lands or Tango lands or even the tap Gain a Life lands. Well, that's it for Hazezon Tamar and our first deck tech. Let us know how we did and who you would like to see get one of these in the future. Thanks for watching, and remember to always go your clone way. Did you like the video? If you want to see Hazezon Tamar in action featuring a list not the same as, but similar to the one we just covered in this video, check out these Commander games we played with Hazezon below.